Hey everyone, it's Xander.
And Alejandro.
Really? Gang signs now?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, this is a chapter I'm not sure how I feel about, even now. It's one of the ones that I just kind of forget about and don't really think much about. Maybe an answer will become more clear to me as we cover this chapter.
But we're still going to make jokes about it and cover it here in Chapter 17, Trial by Fire.
I've been jaded, I've been dusted. I know that I've seen better days.
We start off right away with the biggest amount of bullshit that we can, so at least we get this out of the way as Fisk and company talk about their special training. It turns out the Marines came to the base to train against the Rangers, so they're doing light tag, I guess.
I thought they used paintballs for this sort of thing.
Well, the Marines managed to kick everyone's asses, except for one person.
Just take one guess who not only survived... No, wait, strike that. Not only did someone survive, but single-handedly takes out an entire group of Marines by himself.
No. God damn it, no! There's no amount of luck that would save you there, you dumbass. Your opponents are a bunch of trained Marines. You are a bunch of rookies. How the fuck is this supposed to be believable? Did you watch Die Hard like it was a documentary?
And this last "I was lucky" comment? No, you're just a fucking Mary Sue of a character, written by a hack of an author.
In other news, water is wet and the sky is blue.
Anyways, the conversation continues and shifts to the tiny television with its breaking news screen. Also, CNN again.
I guess Fox News wasn't really a big thing in the 90s.
So anyways, the next page shows a montage of past wars and what the soldiers had to come home to.
This is so stereotypical and inaccurate, and oh my god, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah, you thought the priest in the last chapter looked bad. Say hello to a new low for Naylor with the Arab women. I'm not even touching the joke on this page.
Okay, on this page, why does the newspaper Sheila is reading have someone called out as a whore? And what was the first name? All I can make out is Tucker.
You really do have an eye for detail. So Sheila is worried, as you might expect, while Lucy tries to reassure her. Oh, and Fisk is smart?
Yeah, sure he is. Look, making him into a smartass and a mouthpiece does not make him smart. You've just made him into a very effective Mary Sue, Naylor.
The next page goes on with Sheila being concerned with what Fisk might see, which then leads to a cut of Fisk in the desert, and what the hell are those?
No, seriously, what are those?
I think between this panel and the Arab woman one, Naylor was definitely on something by this point.
Yeah, we're gonna go with that.
It really only gets dumber, and it turns out Fisk was basically dreaming, so Pointless Page was pointless. So getting into the real meat of the chapter now, it's the middle of Desert Storm, and Fisk and company are over in Iraq. I'll tell you right now, surprisingly Naylor has enough self-restraint not to have Fisk be a big hero and go capture Saddam in some alternate reality of things.
This is kind of what I mean by I'm not really sure how I feel about this chapter. It's had some stupid moments already, but it doesn't have the usual amount of soapboxing and just filibuster of Naylor's rants like it usually does. It feels like he actually tried to tell some kind of story. He's doing a bad job of it, and it's incredibly dull so far, but it feels like he actually tried something for a change.
Something that does bother me, though, is Naylor still hasn't ditched the habit of jumping around on the settings. Lucy gets a surprise phone call from Fisk. Not much to say here. You can see how the page goes. And in the following page, we have more of the phone conversation, except with Beth talking to Fisk now, while Lucy acts like, okay, to be fair, if I had to listen to one of my friends talking about how they want to screw someone, I'd be an asshole to them as well.
You sure she's not just practicing all her best techniques or giving Beth pointers?
So 2 pointless pages later, and we are now back on Iraq, only to have more driving!
I have to say, looks like the one thing Naylor actually gave a shit about drawing was any form of military vehicle or equipment.
And on the next page, we go from driving to looking at things. So exciting!
You know, I think I'm starting to find a way to describe this chapter. Dull. It's just been a bunch of driving around, and yes, I know, war is not always that exciting. But you would think Naylor, who finds a way to over-dramatize anything, would have found a way to at least make this a little bit more interesting by now.
And really, none of these pages have seemed to have been needed so far. I know it's supposed to be generic war scenes, but they don't seem to have focus or purpose.
Well, the next page finally gets to what's really going on and what this chapter is basically going to be about now. There's a downed medical unit that needs to be rescued and recovered. But what the hell does "there are to be no trophies" mean? Is he talking about the Iraqis getting Americans or what? As usual with Naylor, he says something that I think he heard somewhere, but he doesn't understand it properly or use it right. Anyways, we get to a shot of the downed unit, and it turns out it's a helicopter.
Wait, so the unit is a helicopter,
Yeah.
and they have to go to it.
And...
So you could say,
Get to the chopper!
damn it.
hey, it is fun to use clips like that.
So the long story short, the chopper got shot down and there's a guard unit nearby that they have to watch out for.
Again with a stark black cat. This is at least the third character I've seen in a comic where it is solid black with no details like that.
Well, next page, once you know it, the enemies are showing up. It's confirmed not to be Allied vehicles, and in the next page, it looks like they never realized there was a chopper there either because, wow, that's brutal.
Alright, I know this is war and war's brewing and all, but seriously, that guy never saw it coming. Just look at his face. He never saw that coming.
Naylor is that bad at writing a comic. We end up feeling sorry for the enemy.
And it only continues to get worse as the enemies all get mowed down, including this last panel with one of them bursting into flames.
Normally, a good writer would be showing the horrors of war, but I think Naylor's just getting off on drawing people getting shot and killed.
So surprisingly, they actually take a few prisoners after their onslaught.
And now for something completely different.
So we are back to bouncing back and forth between subjects. I'm going to go with Naylor was starting to get desperate to draw some fan service again, and it starts off in the women's changing room at a gym, with Lucy and Elizabeth talking. You know what? I really don't care what this conversation is about.
Wow, you're normally pretty careful to explain everything happening in these pages.
They talk about Fisk while Liz tries to say she's happy in her relationship. That's all you really need to know. So, back at the battlefield.
Oh hey, looks like the Iraqis noticed the chopper.
And round 2 is about to begin. Okay, Al, maybe you know more about this than I do because I really don't study this stuff. How much of this dialogue is legit and how much of it is Naylor just making shit up?
Okay, I'm calling bullshit on a few things in this chapter. Number one, how are they going to think they've run into a whole fucking division when there's not going to be hardly any vehicles there? Two, they're going to be able to look at the explosions and determine how much is going off and where it's coming from. Three, if they get out before relief arrives, like the dude's saying, and blow the chopper, then why did you have to fool them in the first place? And I've noticed he's using a lot of terms that the common person might not understand, which is also bullshit because you're not supposed to use jargon like that.
There's honestly not a lot to say about these following pages. It's all mostly action pages, shit getting blown up, and then...
Oh, come on, another abrupt cut.
Yeah, but this will give me something to bitch about. That long overdue, awkward conversation about how Sam and Sheila got together. The short version is Lucy is trying to say Fisk was younger and less wise, and will accept it now.
Yeah, he's so much wiser now.
It gets even worse by basically saying fuck everyone else and do what you want. You can tell Naylor was fully into objectivism by this point. Anyways, we transition back to Iraq and, oh no! One of the Americans got shot!
No! Not poor Carlos! I've only known him since... Wait a second, I've used this joke before.
So we get into wrapping up this chapter. They are getting the hell out of there. Fisk is given the last law to use, and yes, that is a thing. If Naylor wasn't a hack and spelled it as an abbreviation, that would help. Or if you put a little note at the bottom of the page explaining what it means, that would be nice. So we get Fisk lining up the shot and... Okay, I have no idea what the hell is even going on by this point. Did Fisk actually fire the shot and the tank blow up? Did backup arrive? I'm assuming that's what's going on. This is all a jumbled mess with no one to say what is happening here. Anyways, we're down to the last page. We can wrap this dull chapter up. Fisk writes a letter home, and I'll admit, I can't find anything to complain about. It seems pretty legit. If I didn't hate this character with every fiber of my being, I might actually find it touching.
So that's chapter 17, and I figured it'd be easier to compile my complaints all here at the end instead of doing it throughout the chapter. There's a few major problems I see with this one. One, it's boring as hell. Yes, this is war. No, war is not always exciting and full of battles like you see in the movies. However, this is coming from Naylor, and you would think a guy that did something like that would find a way to at least make this seem a little bit more interesting. Two, I care about no one involved in this conflict.
We are just meeting these characters. We don't know what their personalities are like, their dreams, their past, nothing. We never do either. It's all about the battle while the characters are being little more than chess pieces moving around the battlefield. Any other decent series where they explore a theme of war gives characters a personality and a reason for us to care if they live or die. That doesn't happen here.
And finally, three, it's difficult to follow the action when it actually does pick up.
I've found this problem in other comics and stuff as well, where it's hard to tell what's going on and I have to go back and look a few times at the panels. But usually, there's at least someone explaining something, there's dialogue to explain what happened, or at least hint as to what's going on. In this case, there's not. The last 2 pages are the most clear example of this. I don't know for sure what the hell happened. I'm assuming Fish Unit got some surprise backup, but all these vehicles start looking alike, and no one says anything about cavalry arriving. Furthermore, if they were on their own out there, how the hell did the tanks get out there that fast? It's sloppy writing, and it makes no sense.
Throw in the pointless transitions back home, and this is probably one of the most boring chapters that Naylor's made, second only to the chess chapter. Take it away, Al.
You may have noticed a similar set of complaints from me for a lot of the chapters we've reviewed. That's actually more of a problem for Naylor than it is for us, because as a writer, the types of problems that a criticizer is supposed to give to you to improve your writing is supposed to be different. What I get, if I'm reading a book, when I get to chapter 20, my complaints should be totally different than they were in chapter 3. That indicates that you picked up what I was trying to throw at you, and you fixed it enough to the point that it's better now. Or, if you didn't have time to review it, that you at least figured something out and got us on a different track than we were before. Instead, here I'm seeing the same problems here as in chapter 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and so on. They keep happening over and over again, meaning absolutely no one pointed these out to him. He didn't listen to anyone that did. He took criticism as if it were a personal attack and ignored it. Or flat out, he was simply not exposed to any form of valid criticism because of his wall of protection from his followers.
The funny thing, Al does not follow Naylor nearly as close as I did. He's a casual observer, and he hit the nail on the head.
I was first asked to start looking into this stuff by Xander a while ago, before he even started doing the reviews. And I never bothered to look at it in detail because I never paid much attention to it. When I started paying attention to it, I'm like, seriously? Here's a problem. Here's a problem of the same kind way back here that's over here again. And the worst thing for a writer is when they run into a situation where they have a lot of people telling them exactly what they want to hear and they don't receive valid criticism and they don't therefore think that they have a problem.
And as we all know, the furry community is a giant hug box.
I mean, when you hear someone say to you, your work sucks, you're supposed to get them to explain it to you like we've been doing and try to fix it. I mean, just taking the advice we've given him, he could have rewritten this comic at least once and turned it into something valid. He could have kept a lot of the material intact, just altered it to the point where it was better. And
that'd be a stretch.
I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt here, because I've only read this. I haven't read any other of his work, so I'm just assuming here that he's capable of adapting to something as simple as basic human advice. But it's really disappointing, because you're not supposed to see chapter 1 problems in chapter 25 or 30. It's just not supposed to happen. It's indicative of a lack of development, and that's the biggest problem. I could say the same stuff that I said 3 videos ago or 4 videos ago, and it would still apply here. And I really shouldn't have to keep saying that, because it indicates that he's simply never learned any better. And that's really all I have to say.
And just for the sake of comparison, let's go over what are your usual complaints again.
Usual complaints. Character development given to characters who are dismissed from the series, never seen again, or given long breaks between seeing them, so it was a waste to give them development. Not giving development to characters that are important. Putting in scenes that are filler and have no purpose and don't develop anything. Developing characters in the negative direction and ruining positive development.
That did not happen in this one.
Surprisingly. Tangents that have no purpose. It's not even filler. It's a complete tangent. It's one of those things where you literally look at it and go, "Why was that even there?"
Like we did with the gym scene.
These are the complaints I end up keep saying because they keep happening, and I bet they're going to keep happening because he doesn't learn.
And at the end, the most detrimental part about this chapter is it's so dull and boring. It gave us like nothing to work with for entertaining material. Here's the thing. For reviewers, a horrible, terrible piece of work is comedy gold for them because it's so easy to work with. This is just dull. Here's to hoping the next chapter gives us some more material we can poke fun at.
Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's Xander.
And Alejandro.
Did you really just...
Yes. I just wanted to throw that in there just once.
We're going to keep that in and we're going to keep the odd look, but I have to do it with a straight face now. Also, hello outtake for the end.
Yeah.